level with our heads. Is it? Tell me when it's on.
It's on. Yeah.
Oh, it's on. We're on camera. Okay. Today is Easter Sunday, April 4th, 2021. And this year, we're coming up on 50 years of marriage. Our 50th anniversary will be on June 10th. So that's what, 2 months away.
It's on.
Okay, how we met. My first recollection of this wonderful, beautiful woman sitting next to me was just a vivacious, sparkling, beautiful young gal giving, redhead, a beautiful young redhead, giving a talk in sacrament meeting in our BYU ward when we were both students at BYU. This was in 1968. Yeah, I guess that's right, 68. And I probably had seen her before, but my first recollection that I remember is that testimony. I was so impressed by the not just physical but spiritual beauty of this young girl and her wonderful, vibrant testimony of the gospel. Come to find out, she wasn't even a baptized member of the church yet. She was, I guess, a dry Mormon. She had been converted to the gospel, but had not been given permission by her mom to be baptized. But I was just so taken by her faith and her testimony and her inner and outer beauty. Just loved that red hair. That when I was called to be the chairman of the genealogy committee in our student ward, and the bishop asked me to select a group of people from the ward to be on the committee, and I had a list basically of names to choose from. Her name was on the list, and I chose her. I wanted to get to know her better. You want to add your part?
Okay, well, my first impressions of Grandpa was at a Halloween party for our BYU 6th Ward, and it was at a barn somewhere in Spanish Fork. And we were all sitting around one part of the barn talking, and I saw the bishop chasing Grandpa around the inside of the barn, and Grandpa was laughing and laughing. That's my first impression. In talking with my roommates about this person, Grandpa, they said, oh, he's the Latin lover. His name is Bill Burke. He's the Latin lover. That was another impression I had. And that's about it. Except that, okay, we can talk about the first date.
Okay, our first date. I was starting my second year, towards the end of the second year of college. It was Christmas. No, this was after Christmas, wasn't it? Back then, the semester, we had a Christmas break, and then we came back and did 2-3 more weeks of school before the semester ended. So the semester didn't end until sometime in January. I was getting ready to go on a mission. I had to wait to be old enough. I didn't turn, back then it was 19, till March, so I would have been 18 years old. And we had another ward activity called the Sky Room Exclusive. And it was taking place in the Sky Room, which is the top level of the Ernest L. Wilkinson Center building.
It's a formal.
Yeah, it was a formal affair. It was going to be a dinner and dance. Now, I had, like I said, I was getting ready to go on a mission, and I had basically sworn off any more dating prior to the mission the last couple of months.
He also didn't date non-members. And
Oh.
I was a non-member the previous month, but I was baptized in December of 68, so in 69 I was a member now. So I could get on his list.
Yeah, she was baptized when she went home for Christmas. So anyway, the bishop had asked all the young men in the ward that if they didn't have a steady girlfriend or whatever, to please ask one of the girls in the ward to the Skyrim exclusive. But I had pretty much decided I wasn't going to do any more dating, even though I'd been very active in dating before that, before Christmas, because I decided, well, I either needed to swear off girls or in preparation for my mission or not. But my buddies in the dorm, Hinkley Hall, said, Bill, it won't be the same without you. You've got to come with us to the Skyrim exclusive. Just ask one of the girls in the ward like the bishop asked us to do. So I thought about it and I thought, I should ask that cute little redhead on the genealogy that I had gotten to know on the genealogy committee. I didn't know her very well actually, yet. So I did. I asked her out. And you have something to say about that?
I think it was the very first date that I had at BYU that I didn't ask. It was, it was a boy asked girl instead of girl asked boy. And I was also the first one in my apartment to get a date for that particular dance, which was also unheard of in my apartment. And after the date, my friend Jerry asked, and of course everybody said, well, how was it? How was it? How was it? Because nobody had dated him before. Other people had, but not in our ward, not that I knew in our apartment.
We had a wonderful evening. We just hit it off like just good friends. And after the dinner and the dancing, we just went for a walk and took a tour of the heating plant. Wasn't that when we took a tour of the heating plant?
No, you took me home because I was all dressed up in a formal.
Oh, okay, that must have been another date. Anyway, I had so much fun and felt so comfortable with her that my resolve to not date before going on a mission kind of vanished. Besides, the semester's coming to the end, and I wasn't starting my mission till March, a few weeks before my birthday. That I had like the whole month of February with nothing to do. I was sleeping on the floor of one of my buddy's apartments because I didn't even have a contract for an apartment because I wasn't going to stick around for the semester. Had nothing to do, so I started asking this young lady out on dates. We went out on a whole bunch of dates. Of course, I also asked someone else on one other girl in the ward.
Was that Ella Speed or Wanda Decker?
That was Ella Speed.
George Rosenberg's cousin from Florida.
She fast. I call her Ella Speed. Very nice girl. Not as much fun as Ma though, but very spiritual also. You want to pause?
I can't pause. I have to turn it off.
Oh, well. I want you to know this is impromptu. We didn't plan it out or prepare a script or anything, or notes. We only have a few things that our kids suggested we talk about. But
We wrote for the first couple of months of his mission.
oh no, I know what I was going to say before that.
Oh.
Before that, when I left, before leaving on a mission, we didn't have any commitments to each other. The only agreement that we came up with was that when I got off my mission, if she was still available and around, I would look her up, and we would go out and see how things worked. I didn't expect her to be single when I got back from my mission. I figured some smart young fellow would snatch her up and she would be married.
And I didn't expect to be single either.
But 2 years went by. Tell them about the letters.
We started writing postcards just for the first few months, and then it stopped. And then in November, before he was supposed to come home, I guess that would have been November of 1970. I don't know who started writing first, but I realized I was going to be still around and graduating, and he was coming home, so he was still around, and we started writing again, still postcards, and then he came home on his birthday, March 24th, to visit me, and that was great. When he knocked at the door, I was in I can even remember what I had on. I had my nice brown bell-bottom slacks, and I had my nice yellow blouse, kind of an orange yellow blouse. Looked real nice, and the doorbell rang, and the knock on the door, and Peggy, my roommate, answered it, and she yelled through the door, "Risha, your missionary's here." And then he walked in, just dressed just like a missionary, with his overcoat and shirt and tie and everything.
Yeah, I think.
Then we went for a walk, and that was a clue to our dates. He had no car, he had no money. I had no car, I had no money. And so what we did was we walked everywhere.
Yep, we did. I think that's earlier that day I had been released officially by my stake president as a missionary, even though I had ended my mission about, I don't know, several weeks before. I on the way home, I stopped in Puerto Rico and spent a week or so with my parents before coming back to Provo, to BYU.
So we dated. Well, that was March 24th, and we dated pretty steadily from that point on. I almost finished my classes. My classes would finish in May, but I was taking a lot of education classes, and I had finished all the work of those classes by the end of April, and actually a little before that. So I had plenty of free time.
And
April 11th.
yeah, I had one date that was not with Patricia Southward, Patty Southward, also known to me as Risha, was her nickname. She had been going by. I had one date with George, my buddy George Rosenberg's cousin, which he begged me to double date with him, and he wanted someone to take his cousin out. As a favor to George, I went out with him on a double date, and his cousin was my date. Don't recall a more miserable date in my life. I could not wait. I mean, she was a nice girl and everything, but I could not wait for that date to end. She probably noticed too. I don't know. I hope not. Because all I could think of was this gal right here. All I wanted to do was get back to my girl. And then George had a conversation with
Bonnie. I was about to graduate, and I was about ready to. I had already sent out a lot of letters for jobs, and they needed school teachers in Nebraska, so I was in the process of sending all those letters out to Nebraska. And I didn't know what his intentions were, but Bonnie put a word into George that I was leaving, and that if he had any ideas, he better get on the stick, because I would be gone.
And that was the story of our lives. She's always getting me to get on the stick. Anyway. We had been dating from March 24th to April 10th or so. It was on April 11th that the next big event took place. It was a Sunday. It was a fast Sunday. And when George had told me that if I didn't do something, this girl was going to leave Utah and go work as a school teacher in Nebraska, I figured, man, how am I going to continue this relationship if she's in Nebraska and I don't know how to get to Nebraska. Anyway.
So he called and told me he wanted to talk to me, and maybe Sunday would be a good time at a certain time. And I said, okay. And I kind of knew what he was going to talk about. So I started to fast, and he was fasting too.
Yes.
And he picked me up, and we walked to the
Right after church.
after church, and we walked to the. There's a bench by the canal that isn't there anymore, below the Mazer building.
Mazer Hill.
Mazer Hill, and we sat on the bench, and he asked me to be the mother of his children.
And she has never let me forget that. I
He
never
never
asked
asked me
her.
to marry him.
But to
I
me, that
figured
was,
it was, implied.
she understood. May have not used the best wording. But anyway, yeah, it was a beautiful spot. I loved that spot. It was on a hill. It was nature. There was a little stream. It was irrigation water, I guess, running by, and there was this bench right next to it. And that's when, and I had been fasting, and I think she understood that this was an important event, and that it was Fast Sunday, and we hadn't broken our fast yet. It was right after church. And so I did. I asked her.
And instead of giving me an engagement ring at that time, he gave me a brown and orange poncho, and told me that that he had made for a redheaded person. Maybe it was Janice, but maybe
No.
it was me.
That was your photo that I showed the lady. I says, I want a poncho that will look good with this redheaded gal. She was a lady in our branch where I was a branch president in Uruguay on my mission.
And the condition was that if we didn't get married, I'd have to give the poncho back. I still have the poncho, but it itches my neck, so it's hard to wear it. But if I have a turtleneck sweater, I can wear it. But if I don't, then I can't wear it because it's wool.
It's wool made from real live lambs, sheep in Uruguay, where I served my mission. Anyway, what's next? Oh, you wanted to talk about your shower.
Yes, I wanted to talk about a shower that my roommates gave to me. It was a surprise shower. I didn't know. Grandpa picked me up, and we walked over to the home where the shower was being held. And of course, there were lots and lots of presents there. And as I opened the presents, there was a thing where you didn't know who gave you the present because there wasn't a tag on it, but you would wish them something. And so I would wish them, whatever, some silly old thing. But then I got to the gift, a gift. It was a long flat box, and something came over me, just a feeling came over me. And all the joy and happiness and frivolity just kind of left me with an inner peace. And I opened the box, and it was my temple clothes, my ceremonial robes. And I thought, oh my goodness, this must be really important, because what I wished those people that gave me it, that I didn't know who had given me it, before I even opened the box, was that I would hope that they'd all have a temple marriage like I was going to have. And then I opened the box, and there were the temple clothes, to my surprise. So that was a testimony to me that the Lord was telling me that what I was doing was very, very special.
Oh, I just remembered an interesting event that happened somewhere around that time. I got a call one night from her, and she was crying. We had just been on a date. I'd gone home. She called me back on the phone, and she was crying, and she said she needed to talk to me. And I said, okay. So we agreed to meet at in front of the library steps.
No, we met in front of we met in the HVAC, because the HVAC was halfway between Helam and Halls, where he lived. He was a Hinckley hustler, and Park Plaza, where I lived. And I got there first. And so I went inside the HVAC and sat on the bench, and I could see him walking past, because there were lots of windows in that building. And I had this terrible feeling, this terrible feeling that I should not marry him. And my roommate, and that's why I gave him a call. And my roommate said, well, it was the night before I was going to receive my endowment. And he said, so they said, well, you'd better call him and tell him if you don't want to get married, because I had this feeling that I shouldn't marry him. And so I called him up to tell him that. And as I was sitting in the HVAC, looking out the window, as soon as he came into view walking across, before he even came in the door, another feeling just enveloped me. and it was a peaceful feeling, and it made me think to myself, oh, you stupid fool, why did you even bother to call him over here? You know you're not going to marry him. And so for me, it was a testimony that his priesthood was strong, and that when I saw him, that was a good connection to me, for me, that I was married him. And I apologized and I felt so stupid. But anyway,
I loved her so much. I just hugged her and held her and kissed her.
so
Anyway,
that's that.
that's kind of how we got started.
Okay, now we have
She
to
got
think
her
about
endowments
this.
in the Manti Temple, by the way.
Yes, and 2 weeks later we were married. We were engaged on April 11th. He was home on the 24th of March. We were engaged April 11th. I received my endowments May 22nd, and we were married on June 10th.
So,
That was pretty quick.
that was quick. Okay,
I
so
like the picture higher better. Makes my neck look skinny.
no vanity or pride here.
Nope.
I'm so glad she decided to marry me. We've had an incredible life together with just awesome experiences throughout our lives. The Lord has been very good to us. I am so glad that we're sealed in the temple and that we can be together forever. We're a little older and grayer and some wrinkles.
A little bigger in size than those first
We
few
put on
times.
some weight, yeah.
Look what you have to look forward to.
50 years of bliss and a whole lot more in the future. I love her very much. I am so grateful for her. Next to the Lord himself and what he did for us, I count her as my biggest blessing in my life. We've been asked to share maybe some what we would like to tell our posterity.
Yeah.
God lives. We are his children. He loves us more than we can imagine. He's greatly blessed us. We love our family. We love our children, our grandchildren, their families. We love you all very much. We want to be with you forever. One of the greatest gifts, perhaps the greatest, or right up there, that Heavenly Father has given us is our agency, the ability to choose. I am glad, so grateful, that I choose Jesus Christ. I choose to believe him. I choose to believe in him, but I choose to believe him. The gospel is the only way to truly be happy in this life and in the life to come, the world to come. Our choices will determine who we will be, we will become, and what will happen to us. There are laws, eternal laws, that have consequences. And my best advice is choose the only true answer. The only completely true answer is Jesus Christ, our Savior. Choose him in your life. Choose to believe him and to believe in him. Our choices have brought so many blessings to us. We've always tried to say yes to the Lord. He did so much for us that no matter how much we do for him, we will always be in his debt. He died for us. He suffered for us. He knows us intimately, whenever we have any pain, illness, problem, challenge, sin, we need to turn to him. He can heal us because he knows us intimately. He knows every one of our pains. He knows every one of our tribulations. He knows every one of our weaknesses. And he can heal us. He can cleanse us from all our sins. He can heal us from all our pains and all our infirmities, be they physical, mental, emotional, whatever. He knows everything we feel. We are never, never, never truly alone. He is with us. He loves us. He wants us to be with him and with our Father as an eternal family forever. And this I bear witness to in his name, the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Years ago, when I was first joining the church, I was asked, and I've been asked this before. You gave up your family to join the church. What is more important to you, your family or the church? And that used to be a question asked in religion classes at BYU. What's more important, your family or the church? Well, for me, I love my family. I love the family I grew up in. But I joined the church so I could keep that family, because I knew that even if they didn't join the church here on earth, they would have a chance to know the gospel and to choose the Lord later on. And so by giving up my family, I actually got them back. And I think I will have them back. And so to me, an important thing for me to leave to you is that family is all important. The church is all important. But if you want your family forever and you love them, then the church is the pathway in to get your family back, to get your family to be with you forever. Okay, that's it. Signing off.
Happy anniversary to us.
To us.
Yeah, it's going.
Okay, today is April 25th. This is a part 2 of our question and answer session. We were asked why I married Papa, and Papa had already told you in the last one why he married me, but I didn't say why I married him. And the reason I married Papa was because he was the only person I'd ever dated that I felt comfortable with, where I didn't have to put on any airs or be somebody I wasn't. And so that's why I married Papa. The second question was to tell us a little bit about something about our wedding and our open house. You want to put what you remember?
We got married. Sealed in the Salt Lake Temple. Our sealer was the president of the temple at the time, O. Leslie Stone. And present at our sealing were my parents and my grandpa Burke and my grandma Pearl Burke. Who else? Oh, Jerry, and then my brother and his wife Jackie, his wife at the time, Jackie, who happened to be very late. As a matter of fact, they were like half an hour late and set back our sealing by half an hour.
And in the temple, little sisters kept saying, can we have is everybody here now? Can we have the sealing? Are you ready? And I had to keep saying, no, no, no. Finally, they said, we just have to have it. And it was a half an hour later that we finally did have the sealing, because Morris did get there.
And I think,
finally.
Was George there too? At the sealing?
I don't think he was at this. Yeah, he was. He might have been at the sealing.
Well, you have the list there. Anyway.
And let's see. After this, I stayed I went up and we got married anyway. And after the sealing, George Rosenberg, a good friend of ours, took pictures. And then we went to a breakfast at Sister Conger's house. Sister Conger and Sister Hancock were missionaries down in Puerto Rico. And so they opened their house so that we could have a breakfast. Those that went to the sealing went to the breakfast at her house. She had an apartment in Salt Lake. And then later on that evening, we had an open house at Sister Conger's house where more people that we knew could come and celebrate with us. And she made a nice cake and had a couple of grandkids that came over and decorated for us. And it was very small. We didn't have very many people.
Sisters Conger and Hancock were the first two sister missionaries to ever serve in Puerto Rico. And they were senior sisters, both of them. They were both single sisters, or widowed, I believe. And just really good friends of the family.
Yeah, they're really wonderful people. We only had a handful of people at our open house in Salt Lake. But then that night, we had quite a schedule. Because we got married on a Thursday. The reason we got married on a Thursday was because there wasn't really much time. We couldn't find an appointment in the temple, Salt Lake Temple, or later, and so we got married on a Thursday, and at 10 in the morning. And that night we left for California, and then we had our open house on the 11th. We traveled all day on Friday to California.
Traveled all through the night.
All through the night, that's true. And then on June 12th, which was Saturday, we had an open house at my mom's house. And it was all outside, and there were quite a few people there. She invited a lot of people, mostly relatives and her good friends, which was really nice of her to do because she didn't really have very much money to have any kind of a celebration, but everybody chipped in and it was just a wonderful time. Then after we opened our presents, on the next day at 6 o'clock, on Sunday, we left for Utah again so that we could arrive on Monday morning, really early in the morning on Monday, so Papa could go back to school. So actually we only had 4 days. And we didn't have a car at the time, so we did all the traveling in the back seat of Grandma and Grandpa's car that they had just bought. It was like a Hornet, was it? It wasn't the Ambassador, it was a small car. And we traveled in the back seat there the whole time, crammed in there. And when we went to California, we stayed, Jim and Jean let us stay in their house. They went off somewhere and they let us have their little house. So we didn't have to pay rent. We didn't, pay for a hotel or anything. We didn't have any money. And so we just had a really nice time with the help of a lot of people.
Two things I remember about our open house in California was probably the worst headache I ever had in my life. Standing in that line, that reception line for I don't know how many hours. The other thing I remember, that wasn't a very good memory, but the other fun memory was Uncle Joe's present. I'll never forget. Was it Uncle Joe? Uncle Joe's present. There was a cardboard box inside were 12 glasses, and inside the glasses were money, paper money, a total of I think $50, and a bunch of green stamps, which we could. It was a program where you got green stamps for buying stuff, groceries and stuff.
It was a reward program.
And then we could cash those in for things, which we later did.
Yeah, we bought Ceci's high chair with that, and I think we might have bought a playpen with it too.
And the $50 we used for our very first grocery shopping to
Yes.
buy things like spices and sugar and whatever we needed.
And we spent $44 on that very first grocery shopping, and we got all the basics. Flour, sugar, shortening, salt, just a lot of stuff.
Bread and butter.
I thought I had kept the receipt, but maybe I didn't keep the receipt. But it was just amazing how much money, how much we could use with so little money.
And yeah, that was a very, and we got a lot of really nice gifts that helped equip our little apartment
Yeah.
starting out.
Yeah. Another question we had was, what did we do after we were married? Well, Grandpa had school, and I had nothing. So I would hand do quilts. I had a sewing machine, and so I would keep busy that way. I also, we had jobs. Papa had a couple of jobs. What did you do?
I got a job at, what hotel was it?
Travel Lodge.
Travel Lodge, as basically a night clerk. And I would check in guests and do the laundry at night. Didn't last very long. I was fired. They said it was a reduction in force, but I think I was just fired.
Yeah. Anyway.
And the only other job I had back then, when we first started, was I became a Fuller Brush salesman, door to door, peddling stuff.
Yeah.
I was not very good at that job either.
Well, besides,
Didn't make hardly any money.
I know. I had a job too. I worked at the BYU bookstore during semesters, at the cashier, taking books or stocking books, before and after the semesters. And I also had a 2-day job at a call center, but I couldn't stand it, so I quit after the second day. This call center was calling businesses around, seeing if they would buy tickets to the circus that they could give as a promotion to their customers. And I didn't like that one at all. I'm not so good on the phone anyway. And another thing we did for enjoyment was we listened to the radio, KSL radio, and during the day they'd have a question, because I think they were celebrating their 50th anniversary or something like that on the radio. It was a big thing. And so if you answered questions, then you got a chance to go to Salt Lake. I think they picked a name out or something. I don't know. You go to Salt Lake, and Papa had, even though I was the one that answered most of the questions, Papa went to Salt Lake, and
We both went.
yeah, we did, but you got to pick out the number or whatever it was to win a prize.
Oh, there was
I think it was a car.
there were numbers in the bowl, and I don't know. We picked, and only one person could get the grand prize, and that was a car. Of course, we didn't get it, but we got free hot dogs, was it?
Oh, yeah. We got free hot dogs up there.
So we got a meal out of it.
Yeah, except we had to get up there. Anyway, so that was, what we did for fun. There wasn't too much to do.
And Scrabble.
Oh, yes. And we would go to Mazer Hill. Right below Mazer Hill, there was a creek or a canal running through, and there was a table with some chairs there. And
I think it was a bench.
a bench.
A
And-
table with benches, yeah.
When it was above 50 degrees, we would go up there and play Scrabble. When it was below 50 degrees, then we would play Scrabble at home when Papa came home for lunch. A little bit about finances. We had callings. Papa can't remember if he had a calling or not, but I was called as Relief Society president of the married ward. And I didn't know squat about that. And we didn't have a phone because we couldn't afford a phone because our finances were very, very tight. And it would have cost us $5 to get a phone. Plus we would have had to spend money a month. Then we'd have to, anything long distance would be on top of that. And so the bishop told me, if you're going to be Relief Society president, you have to have a phone. So we got a phone. And so that kind of crimped our savings a little bit. And then
Our budget.
our budget.
We didn't have any savings.
Oh, that's true. And then when Papa got the job at Travel Lodge, we thought, okay, we can afford a car now because he's got a job. So we spent $700 or borrowed $700, made a loan, and Morris co-signed the loan, and bought a Rambler Rogue. It was a burgundy color one. And I remember the guy told us that it was because we didn't know anything about cars or buying cars. He said, yeah, this was owned by an old couple, but it had two mufflers. Cars with two mufflers aren't owned by couples. They're owned by other people, and this was kind of a sporty model. Anyway, it was a two-door, so you had to flip the seat back, the front seats back to get in. But 2 weeks after that, Papa lost his job, so now he had another debt to pay off that loan that we had paid. So our our budget is getting tighter and tighter. And the reason why it was because we were getting $165 from Grandpa and Grandma to live on, because neither of us had were working. I tried to get a job as a school teacher, but they would always ask me the question, are you going to start your family? And I said yes, and so they wouldn't hire anyone who was going to start their family. Of course, nowadays they don't ask you that question, they can't. But they did then, so that precluded me from getting a job. So what we did was, with that $165, we paid $50 in rent, $50 in maternity insurance, $20 for utilities, but we kept our thermostat down to 50, so the utilities weren't too bad. $45 for miscellaneous and food. So with that, the $5 out of the phone had to come out of that, and also pay off our $700 loan for the car. And in addition, I had a $2,000 loan, $2,000 to my mom and $1,000 to the Stafford loan that I had gotten to go to school. So we had everything I earned from my little jobs was put toward those two loans. We didn't eat a lot. We didn't have a lot to spend on money on food, so I bought one chicken, whole chicken, because it was cheaper to buy a whole chicken every month, a pound of hamburger, 4 tomatoes, a loaf of bread. Those were the basics that I remember buying every month, and that would last us the whole month. And then we found some cans of apples, sliced apples, underneath one of the cupboards in our apartment, and so we would use those. The Ericksons gave us a 50-pound bag of potatoes.
They were Idaho potato farmers.
Yep. And I think Grandpa gave us some beans that we had to,
Dry beans.
dry beans. So we did the best we could with what we had. We ate a lot of beans, I think, and rice. We didn't have a lot, put it that way, but we managed. And let's see, what else do I have here?
And anytime there was an activity in the ward that involved food,
Ooh,
boy,
we would go.
that was a blessing.
Yes.
An actual meal.
Especially if we could take some home. And if anybody invited us out to eat, of course we went. One time we were invited out to eat by Erickson's. They invited us to an all-you-can-eat place. But when it came to pay, Wayne didn't have his wallet with him, so we ended up paying, which was an embarrassment to him, and it was a hardship on us. But, you do what you have to do. Someone asked about the engagement ring, the diamond that I had. I was doing the dishes one day at the sink in our little apartment, which was just a bathroom, a kitchen, living room, and a very small bedroom. And I noticed as I let the water out of the drain, my rings fell off. And I caught the wedding ring, but I didn't catch the diamond, and it went down the drain. So we called the guy, the landlord, and he took things apart, the trap and everything. He couldn't find it. He says it's probably in Utah Lake with all the other diamond rings. And I was real worried because I thought Papa would divorce me since I lost the engagement ring, which he had spent his saved mission money, the money he'd saved on his mission to buy the ring. It was a $250 or something.
No,
like.
I think it was $100.
I thought it was $200. Anyway, it was a lot of money for us. And I
She
thought
was
it was gonna
so
be
worried.
I know. And I was just worried. But he came home and he says, well, if that's all that's keeping us together is the ring, you know, not much of a relationship. So, but he didn't divorce me. I just never got another diamond. But he did buy me a gold band
Gold band.
that I wore for
We
years.
couldn't afford another diamond ring.
No, couldn't afford another diamond ring. Let's see. Did I forget anything?
Probably lots of things.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, those are the basics of the questions that people had asked us. So, there you have it.
And here we are still, 50 years later.
Yeah, it is 50 years later. Anyway, that's it.
Love you guys. Bye.